The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm quite well. I don't want to say I'm excited for this letter because I often say I'm excited for letters, but
Right.
I am anxious and have anticipated one of these letters for a little while now. So I'm excited to get to like some of the content that we have today. Yes.
There's some fun content today, so we're not going to delay too long in getting started with that content. Hey everyone, let's jump right into the basic housekeeping items here. If you could please like, share, and subscribe to the Love Sweetie podcast on YouTube, we'd appreciate that. Click the little bell icon to get the notification for when new episodes are available. If you're listening on our audio channels, if you could go ahead and click the follow, whatever the main button is, to make sure that you're getting updates about the Love Sweetie podcast, and leave a review if you're able to. We appreciate that. Welcome to all of our new listeners today. Welcome to all of our returning listeners. And as usual, please check out the website at www.lovesweetiepodcast.com for a lot more information. And also, if you want to catch up on the whole episode list. Certainly, we've seen people going back and exploring other episodes. This is a major episode today, major updates happening on the family side for Sweetie. We're going to be talking about some history at the end of today's episode. But all of the other content, of course, available by going to that website and checking out the podcast link. You can get to all the different seasons. Jamie, it's not going to be too long from now before we're at season 3, but not something to really talk about too much yet. But just that's hinting at. We're starting to see season 3.
It's on the horizon there. It's on the horizon. I can kind of see it a little bit.
Yep.
But yes, but we still have a little bit more of season 2 to finish. And so, yes, we do have some great stuff today. A quick recap. So last week, we just got a slice of Americana. We just got a bit of what Sweetie was doing, and some things were going on. They, go to the auction on Friday nights. They got jigsaw puzzles. They've been finding like little treasures. This is something that they very much enjoy doing together.
Oh, yeah.
She got some family letters written in. And also, the last letter of the previous episode was written directly to a new, I guess you would say, character.
Yeah.
Was written directly to Glenn, which we know is Jean's new boyfriend. I'm going to call it a boyfriend.
Oh, that's fair to say at this point. Yeah.
Yes, and so like that's where we ended the last episode. Was we were introduced to Glenn, and we got to see the new relationship that Sweetie is forging with Jean's new beau.
Yep.
So that was really fun. That was a very fun episode last time. So, but this episode we are coming into. We're still in the summertime.
That's right. Yep.
And this one is coming to us from August 8th.
County Line Road, Hatboro, Pennsylvania, August 8th, 1950. Dear Mama, Papa, Jean, Sister, Frank, and Florence. It is past 11, I'm quite sure, but the attic has cooled and Louis is sleeping soundly, and so until Lou gets home at 1, I shall write a few letters to keep in touch and up to date. I believe, Papa, you've had my letter and card telling you that the medicine had arrived safely and explaining my delay, since I accidentally put the card away that I had written to you to tell you of its arrival. So far, Lou has not had any more pain, such as described to you, and so the medicine is safely put away until we do need it. I shall write you further about this. We had, as you probably heard over the radio, 4 inches of rain one morning, and such a downpour that was. I heard that several houses not too far from us, down on a creek bed, had become a regular waterway, and the first floors were entirely flooded out. Amongst them Hatborough's most famous inn and cocktail room. It has been very, very cool since then, almost winter pajama weather for Lewis, and though we've had some nice sunny days, the forecast is for still cool weather. The UN resumes its sessions tomorrow. We miss their not being on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and I'm anxious to watch further developments. We find them most interesting and compare the newspaper write-ups with what we have actually witnessed. I hope your audio is fixed by now. You might even get some repeat kinescopes of it, and I know you'd find it most interesting. Are you planning a trip to Frank's soon? I've had a letter from Jean, also, as well as your card, and she is anxious, too, to get the word of your new car. I hope you've got some definite word on it, and do hope you'll be pleased with it. Keep me posted, won't you? Jean told of their visit to your house and of her fishing expedition with Glenn, and I laughed and laughed over the turtle devouring their catch. Not malicious, but funny. Should like to tell you of something that happened this week, just as something usually happens in an odd way to us. On Friday, Lew and I were lounging around appraising some of our junk that we have picked up here and there and decided we were harboring a little too much that really should make way for something worthy of their space and dusting effort, and so decided we'd gather up a bunch of it and take it up to the local auction sale that we attend faithfully each Friday night. There was an old electric heater, minus the element, a bit old floor lamp. That wouldn't work. 2 old Philco radios, minus parts and not working, a meat platter, 2 broken pitchers, an old tray that Lew salvaged from City Dump, a buffet set consisting of a pair of candlesticks and a big center dish for flowers or decor, a blueberry bowl with only 2 side dishes, an old mirror that we decided not to hang as it distorted like the mirrors in a fun house, an old sweeper motor that he had salvaged from somewhere, a little side table we got in our furniture hunts, a funny little chair that I sort of liked at a sale and paid $1 for the bunch of silverware that Lew bought for $0.25, and then found 6 pieces of sterling in. Well, the entire batch sold for $12.60 after their 10% commission had been deducted. We were truly delighted, and on Saturday afternoon, still being under the intoxicating effects of making something for darn little or nothing, we set out to look and perhaps run across some old bit to cherish. We drove north just a few miles, came to an antique shop, and Lew said, "Well, let's just go in and look for a while." We drove the car around the corner to the side of the building to get it off the road, and came upon the man in the process of scraping some antique corner cabinets to refinish them. We stopped to chat, went in and looked the shop over, and then as we started to leave, he went with us as far as his cabinets and resumed his work on them. He had one almost cleaned, but had sanded it by hand to get the old finish off. We watched him as he labored fruitlessly with some kind of paint remover that hardened into a gooey-like stuff, and then Lew said, "I could clean that for you in 2 hours." Such conversation continued, and we found ourselves loading it into the trunk and driving off without the man even having taken our name, though we suspected that he had taken our license number as we drove off. We brought it home, took it to the cellar, and while water heated to mix the remover in, we had a sandwich, and then we all went down into the cellar at approximately 4:30. The job was done at 5:45, and we took it back to the man at 7 that evening. He was delighted, and to repay us, gave us a chair that I don't think is so very old, and also a vase. He was pleased, and we brought back the one he had been working on before, to give it a dose of the same treatment, and before we got away, he and Lew had agreed on doing a big Queen Anne bonnet top highboy. On Sunday morning, as per arrangements, he came to our house to see some of the things we'd collected and to see a bureau that Lew refinished. While I was at your house, he offered us double, and then 50 cents besides for some of the things we had bought, but we couldn't make up our minds to sell them right then. Today we borrowed a pickup truck and went and got the highboy to bring it and take the finish off. It is an enormous thing, not as old as we had thought, and not in as good condition as we thought either. Here it is, Tuesday morning. Lew got off early last night, and so I called it quits up here too. He is up to get at the highboy. And I must cut this short if I'm to make the mailman this morning. I'm having muscular pain and many bruises from having wrestled with the piece of furniture, and swear that I shall not lift a finger when the time comes to carry it out and reload it in a truck. All right, and I wanted to pause here because there's a lot happening. Some of their hobby is becoming much less of a hobby at this time period. And how many broken things can she fit in a box and sell at an auction sale?
I'm surprised that they had all that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't hear too much about when they grab stuff. We hear that they do have things, and we know that they had grabbed furniture and stuff before. But
yeah,
how fun that they're just like, let's sell some things. Oh, we made some money. Let's go driving around. And then came across a gentleman who obviously, he's got in the same, like has the same interests and hobbies and stuff. So, and then like Lew and just like, hey, I could clean that for. I love that barter system that like you do this for me, I'll do that for you. That we kind of like have gotten a little bit away from.
Oh yeah,
that's really fun, and he did it. And that is kind of funny though that they just took it and the guy I don't know what his name are.
Are they coming back? I don't know.
He kind of on faith, but also like your word was your bond back then.
Yeah, they just did
as it should be today, but it's not. It doesn't seem. But that back then, I bet he probably did that with other people as well. Was you have that kind of faith in people,
and then more work. Yeah. He makes this relationship, and it's like, oh, you know what? I got these other pieces as well. Though of course, Sweetie's like, someone else is going to do the heavy lifting. I am not doing this nonstop.
She's little. Like I don't know. He had his wife doing that. Well, she doesn't back down, but I can understand how she didn't want to do it after that.
Yeah, she does seem to get obsessed with chairs. I will say this. This comes up over and over again. If there's a cool chair, she's like, I really like that chair. She'll start drooling over chairs. So the fact that they sold a chair where she's like, I kind of liked it. I got it for $1. And then as payment, like this guy, he comes back with the cabinets. Oh, here's a chair for you. That's just Sweetie's cup of tea. She got and a vase. Fantastic. Something,
and a vase.
Effort. Yeah, that's how it worked back then. I love everything about this because it's just more hinting at like the ultimate that we are going to get to. And I think the audience at this point, if you've been listening in, is like, Lew does this a lot. They really get involved with this. I think this is going to be happening. So this is their first official work that they're doing with an antique dealer, which is really neat. I think it's the first time they sold anything at an auction as well. Mostly,
they always go and buy. Well, they were developing their knowledge base. They were getting an idea of like the things coming in and understand. And they also, she says too, we thought this was actually going to be better condition. It's not as good a condition as we saw. Yeah. So like she's able to discern what is a quality piece and what is not a quality piece. Oh yeah. So yeah, this is definitely leading up to something.
Marguerite went to the hospital to have those enormous warts removed from her feet. Haven't heard yet how she is, or if it was successful, or even how they expected to get rid of them. We do expect them over this weekend, of course. It would be the weekend when Lew works. I expect almost any day to hear that Elizabeth has gone to the hospital, and doubt if I shall be called upon to keep Bobby at all. One of Lew's friends, Joe Rusky, you may all remember him, our best man at the wedding, has been notified to report to active duty in a month or 2. His wife is making her visit home to Ottumwa right now, and I suspect he will call her home immediately. Jean, the package arrived yesterday morning. Lewis was thoroughly disappointed that there was nothing there for him, and wondered how come Mama rated everything for a change. I was disappointed to find there were 4 holes in the big plastic bag. Lew unpacked it for me, and I didn't have much chance to examine the wrappings, but we decided that it had been the zipper that caused the trouble. I shall patch them with Scotch tape, and no doubt it will outlive a perfect one. I'm somewhat skeptical of the clothes dampening bag, but since I did an enormous washing yesterday, I decided to give it a try at least. When I do the ironing today, I shall find out how it works and tell you what I think of it. Do tell Buster I enjoyed his note, and shall enclose one to him as soon as I can do so, but I must stop right now so that I don't miss the mail. I'll write again in a day or 2. Let me hear how everything goes with all of you. Frank, what do you hear from the army? Love to all. Sweetie. Yep.
Well, I mean, first, Joe got called. Joe Rusky.
Yes.
Whose wife Olive, they do have them over for occasion. Like they have a little boy as well. This is the parallel story to Sweetie. And that doesn't, and being a parallel story, the fact that he got called to serve, like, that's concerning to me.
That's concerning. Yeah, for sure. And then there's still a note of uncertainty at the end about Frank. At the end, it's like, has the army called you up, Frank? This is just the time period. The war has just started in Korea at this time point, and it's not clear, like, what is the amount of effort is going to be required on the part of American military forces, how big that's going to be, how long this thing's going to go on. Remember, this is supposed to be a joint team between the UN allied forces and the American forces as part of the UN forces, which we know in history 90% of that's the American forces. So it's really like, how many guys is this going to take? And we'll talk about that some more at the end of the episode today, about how those things are going. But yeah, very real concern in that parallel. That's it's just amazing that they have that storyline, that she's the girl from Atumwa, they have a little boy, and Rusky's the best man. So
yeah, it is fun. It's nice. It's nice that she can have somebody like that in her life. And we learned Marguerite has giant warts on her feet. And we learned that Elizabeth didn't have the baby yet.
Yep. But it sounds like she's about to burst. So it's like,
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But we also, there was something very odd about this, and I wasn't sure, because she'd been trying to get something from Jean for a little bit. There's a clothes dampening bag.
Yeah, something with clothes. I think when she visited, she left some stuff behind, and it took a while for Jean to get it wrapped up, and then something got caught, and there's holes in the bag. It's not exactly clear what all of that is, but
the clothes dampening bag, and it has something to do with washing, and that always fascinates me. Because she has like a washer, and it's like an old-timey washer, and she hangs up her clothes, and the clothes dampening vintage damp magic zippered line. Okay, here's a vintage thing. It's on eBay.
Okay. Ooh,
Matte damp magic double dampening bag. Let me see what it says. Separate compartments, keeps clothes damp for ironing without sprinkling. I guess you had to sprinkle.
You're not, so like with the irons where you have like the water spray in the iron, right? And you're kind of steaming it that way. So I guess that would get rid of the need, because some of the older irons probably don't have that functionality to spray water. So that's interesting. It's keeping them slightly damp so you can iron them better.
This is a thing of the past. This is really interesting. So, so is how you would use these clothes dampening bags is you would there was 2 compartments, so you could put colored clothes on one side and white pieces on the other side, and then you put a cup of water in a compartment.
Interesting.
And then it keeps, and then you let it zip close and let it stand for an hour or more. This makes the clothes evenly damp and ready for ironing.
Hey, American ingenuity, but once the irons had the ability to spray water, it was game over for clothes dampening bags.
But that's interesting. So she said she'd give it a try. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. So this was cool, although I'm not very excited about the story about finding the antique shop was amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm not very excited about finding out about the war and like Frank and Joe's and Lew's involvement. So
we'll see what happens with all that. But we do have a penny postal card that goes out a little bit later, just a few days. August 11th, 1950. Friday morning. Dear Jean, just got a card today as we expect Marguerite and Joe over for the weekend. I'm not sure they will get here at all, but just in case must polish a little, so we'll postpone a letter till I have more time. Haven't patched the clothes closet yet, so haven't loaded it. Boy, once I start... Use the dampening bag. Must admit, I was skeptical of the whole idea, and so wasn't too surprised when it failed dismally. However, since I might not have been quite fair, I'll try again, and write about it again. Weather is beautiful, and my roses are in bloom yet. Do they look pretty? Will write if they don't come. But now I've just got to get to work, and Jean, a few things. I sure like to hear from you. Too bad I have to wait so long between letters. You need a typewriter, too.
She didn't even sign that one.
I think she ran out of space. That's actually a good amount of text to fit on an index card. These are like the smaller index cards that they're sending in the mail. So I think what happened is she meant to it. And usually she signs it Love S, because she's literally in the corner. And that's usually, if you've seen these in the other episodes, she's out of space. So now she has run out of space. And she's going to be like, well, Jean knows who it's from. So
yeah.
There you go.
I love you. Get a
Yeah,
typewriter.
you're good. Get a typewriter. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that's fun. But
I do like that she tried the dampening bag out and it failed.
and there it is. So,
But
but
she's given it a fair shake. So
right,
this is good.
she's gonna try again. Maybe we'll find out. But right now, the review on the dampening bag for anybody that would buy one today, which I doubt they're being made today. Yeah, probably thumbs down. I don't. Yeah, stick to the irons with the just spray water. That's it. Mist, right? Isn't it like you mist things? I think misting's the. I don't know. I
You're
don't do
so
enough ironing to be well aware of this, but yeah, just the idea of like water that kind of makes things damp to iron. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm just really happy they didn't use the M word.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that word.
I hate that word. Yeah.
I usually will substitute damp if I can.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's the diphthong. Anyway, but like, yeah. So.
But we do have so we only have 3 letters today.
We do. This next
I know
letter
that feels kind of short. But but this letter is a little bit bigger.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And here we go. County Line Road, Hatboro, Pennsylvania, September 6th, 1950. Dear Mama, Papa, Jean, Sister, Frank, and Florence. I've been mighty slow about getting this letter started and shall have to get into the routine of writing several short ones as I've been doing. We've been pretty busy here too. Elizabeth had a new baby girl, born late August, I believe. She weighed 7 pounds 8 ounces. She didn't have too hard a time of actual delivery, but she did have some trouble delivering the placenta, and after she got home from the hospital at the end of 6 days, she had a very severe hemorrhage and is again in bed for a week. She has a very poor color and is in general just run down, which could be expected, I guess. The baby looks like the Browns, I think, but she is too young yet to tell. Everyone was delighted that it was a girl. She has been named Marguerite Elizabeth. Marguerite and Joe came over on Friday night. I worked a day or two washing and ironing and cleaning before they came, and then was busy keeping up and entertaining. I drove into Broad Street again to get Marguerite. Joe came on ahead to attend to the auction sale with Lew. Saturday we visited a few antique shops, and then we drove down to Elizabeth's for our first look at the baby. It was quite obvious that G-Mom was about at the end of her row, taking care of 2 babies, carrying meals to Elizabeth, trying to cook and do the laundry and clean, so we put a mattress down on the living room floor for Lew and me, and Louis slept on the Davenport. Marguerite and Joe took G-Mom's bed, and she slept with Elizabeth, as it was Bob's night to work, and we all got up Sunday morning and worked. I did 2 laundries, and then we mopped floors, dusted and ran the sweeper, and cleaned up dirt that Marguerite said had accumulated from the day Elizabeth moved into the house. I'm ready to agree. I bathed the baby. I'm not sure it had had a good bath since the trip home, and Marguerite bathed Bobby. Because G-Mom would have to give up her bed and sleep on the Davenport, Marguerite and Joe came back with us Sunday night. Both she and Lew were off Monday, and she had a day off on Tuesday. We just lounged on Monday, and then I drove them into their train Tuesday morning while Lew was at work. I think it will probably take a couple of days to recuperate. They stay up so late at night. We are used to going to bed early, and I've got to admit, I just can't go without sleep. Somewhere along the way I caught a cold, and I'm about ready to sneeze my head and glasses off. Marguerite always brings a gift for Louis, and this time she outdid herself, and brought me one too. She brought Louis a pair of Levi's, cowboy pants made out of denim, quite like the blue jeans, except they are tight legs, a gun and holster. I got him a red bandana hanky for his neck, and he wore the 2 small straw hat that G-Mom Graham brought him from Texas, and he was just breathless with excitement. He had them all laid out, ready to put on the minute he jumped out of bed. I called him into breakfast, and he said, "Okay, but I have to shoot the doorknobs off first." He had the gun in and out of the holster so many times that it was ruined by the second day. It was made of a cardboard-like material and just broke where the belt went through, and then the belt broke too. He was just tickled to death, and so I shall try to buy him another holster to replace it. She gave me that gray wool suit you remember, and said she wanted me to buy a red hat to wear with it, and so this time when she came, she brought me a red hat modeled after the hats the French airline stewardesses wear. It is a very pretty hat, beret-like, but it doesn't look too good on me. No hat ever does. September 2nd was her birthday, so we got her a couple pair of stockings over at the base, and I baked a birthday cake, and we took it along when we went down to Elizabeth's. Brought part of it back, too, to feed them while they were here. It was so hot and humid when they got here on Friday night, but it turned real cool Saturday and Sunday. Monday was pretty nice, but Tuesday when they left, it was shivering cold, and still is. I turned on the heater this morning to take the chill out of the house, and still sit here with cold feet and wearing a sweater.
Oh, the story of them all going down to Elizabeth's and then just staying and getting up and just cleaning for her and helping her, like Marguerite and Joe and Lou, and that's so heartwarming and so touching.
Yeah, they clearly dropped what they were doing and were like, oh, we really need to help here. Like, G-Mom Graham is not able to keep up with all of this. And plus, unexpectedly, Elizabeth is very weak leaving the hospital because of complications after Marguerite was born here. Now, this is such an interesting thing, and I'm so happy to get to this episode and to talk about this little baby girl, because we get the name Marguerite Elizabeth officially, and there's a lot of like MEs in the storyline right now. Like Sweetie's eldest sister is Margaret Elizabeth, and she's known as sister, thank goodness. You know, we could differentiate a lot there. Or Lizzie, you know, Chester calls her Lizzie. Then we've got Joe's wife, who is Marguerite, right? And then you have Elizabeth herself, Dit, who is also Elizabeth. So you can see where the name's coming from. Clearly, it's an homage to Joe's wife and to her own name. That's, you know, the first daughter's name. But Margaret Elizabeth is still a bit much to say every single time that this little girl is going to come up in the story. And the big thing here is to know that since Marguerite is very much active in the story, from the day she was born, they are also going to refer to this little girl, this little baby, by another name, which is going to keep it straight in the storyline for us. And that name that's given is Little Marguerite. So that's how Marguerite was always known by the Graham side of the family, by the immediate family, is Little Marguerite. And instead of having to use LM as the initials here, I'm very happy to say that Little Marguerite is still with us. Little Marguerite is a major factor in my father's life, in Sweetie's life. You know, he loves his cousins, and clearly we can see that coming through. But the closest relationship he ever had and continues to have is with Little Marguerite. And Little Marguerite, who has become just sort of breaking the fourth wall a little bit here, quite the professional. She's a very, very successful woman. She's gone into the healthcare industry. I'll leave it at that. But she's extremely successful. She's known about this project from before it started. And so I'm going to go to our website real quick, because there's been an anonymous note on the website ever since the website went live, who is never credited to who said it, which is fascinating. So anybody that knows our website, if you go to our website, www.lovesweetiepodcast.com, if you click the podcast link here and it goes to the current season and the listing of episodes, you'll notice that there's an acknowledgements button, and there's only one acknowledgement that appears, and it's been there since the first day. And list of supporters, it says, thinking of Sweetie herself, a close family member has written of her after learning of the podcast starting. Whatever capability I have in supporting and encouraging someone I care about, I learned from your mother. Everything I have accomplished in my life that was positive, I owe to her. I am forever grateful and fortunate to have had her, your dad, and you in my life. I'm happy to say this is the first time I can actually reveal that this quote is from Little Marguerite herself. She's referencing that everything she owes of her success is to Sweetie, and she is happy to have Sweetie, Lewis, and myself in her life. So those are the references, and that'll be updated, that page, to show that the reference is directly from Little Marguerite at this point in the story, since now she's finally entered the story. But it's a great thing.
Like, it's so fun. It's so awesome to see the beginning of a person's life like this, and to know like what she did with it. It's amazing. I was very excited for this episode.
For them being cousins, this is very much a brother-sister relationship. So she's aware that her name is fully being given here, that she's going to be referred to as Little Marguerite, as she would to this day, by the family. And she's very supportive of the whole project. So while you might see a lot of grandkids' names, some of them are abbreviated, some of them are not abbreviated. Those individuals have passed away. Little Marguerite, when she said, I can say happily that Little Marguerite is still here with us, and she's just a wonderful woman. And we can see that from those acknowledgments. And she's going to feature very big, as the story goes on. So I'm just so happy. Like, oh, she's here. She's arrived.
Yay,
She's
I
also
know.
been here the whole time. She's arrived. It's really weird. But, like, yeah, it's great.
It is, but it's cool. It's cool.
And then I think that's most of the story here. And then we get Marguerite, Joe's Marguerite, decides to bring some stuff from New York for little Lewis here, who, now that he has a television set, what they said were on all the time is the reruns of the cowboy westerns. So Lewis is now pretending to be a cowboy and running around the house.
And I love too, she wasn't excited about the cowboy stuff, but she saw how excited and happy he was, and she's like, I guess I'll, and you even came through when you read it, I guess I'll get him another holster. Because even though she doesn't approve.
Yep.
Clearly makes him happy.
But do we remember what Grandpa Demaree bought little Lewis for Christmas this year? What he got for Lacey was the rifle. Was the toy rifle. So now he's had a toy rifle. He has this toy gun with this like cardboard holster. And oh my gosh, he's just so excited. His red handkerchief. Yeah, we can see this. There's gonna be.
I bet it was adorable.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm so glad the folks have their new car and have made the trip to Frank's. I was surprised to get the card saying they'd gone on to Indiana, but I'm glad of it. I only wish you could have come on here. Lew said he wished you'd come too. I hope you'll soon write and tell me all about it. I have some letters here that I think I'll go through and answer, and then finish up as best I can before time to get lunch for Lew, which isn't much time left. Sister, your letter of August 16th, 1950, I shall return the card from your little French friend with this letter. You didn't say whether you wanted it returned or not. I assume you do. Don't you appreciate your oil heat on such mornings as these? I surely do think I'm rich when I can turn the thermostat just like that and have nice warm air to take the chill away. I'm anxious to see the movies and hope you will send them soon. Frank, will you also send the ones you took of Lewis and the clan on June 25th at the Folks' house? I would like to see them, but would also like to show them to the Graham clan and also acquaint my one neighbor with my family. Isn't Bill going to go back to Iowa Pack? Lew enjoyed the night work too, since he got to do more things at home, but I'm better satisfied to have him working days as usual. I shall remind Marguerite about the card for the French girl. She must have forgotten them. I'm glad you liked the booklet, and shall send you something from time to time. Seems like school time rolled around awfully fast this year. We decided we would not send Lewis to kindergarten for several reasons, the main one being the trouble involved in getting him to and from Hatboro, and the $9 per month is no small item, and that was the tuition fee. I shall try to set aside some time each day for some of the things that kindergarten would offer, and perhaps I can take him to visit a time or two to get him used to the idea of school, though I think that Sunday school has already done some good along that line. Maida, I believe I answered your letter, didn't I? I did not make the cake this weekend as I'd thought I would. Rather fell back upon a tried recipe that seemed pretty good. I'd like to ask you if you think that would make a layer cake, or if it must be baked in a deep pan. I've never seen any of them baked as layers, and suppose that it should be baked deep. But you know me, I'll try anything once. I'll be interested to hear what you have done with your TV set, so write us about it, won't you? Also, anything else you're doing that you'd like to pass along. I've been thinking of Susie going to school, and shall be interested to hear how she is doing, and of the little tales she has to tell of her experiences. I often think of the time she played a tattoo on the little boy's head, and wonder if spoons will become part of her standard school equipment. Florence, how are you doing? Your little girl has gone back to school too, and I guess that... and so tells anyone who might inquire that R is his little friend at Grandpa's. I wish. R is quite lonesome without her. Lewis speaks so often of R, can't remember the word cousin. We could have stopped at your house and let Lewis see you and the kids with you. They were at Grandpa's when we got there, and were there when we left, and so it is hard for him to picture you and the kids at home with Grandma Bedreau.
Okay. I'm going to get this cat out of my lap here in a moment.
Oh, but he looked like he's so happy.
He's got a sunny spot, and he just wants to get his attention. Everybody, this is Otis. You've probably seen the background. And he's about to fall asleep, apparently. So, but he's not allowed. Great. Nice.
Nice.
Okay.
Otis, you're supposed to sit in the window.
Supposed to sit in the window. Well, Franz is in the window right now, but he's supposed to be sitting elsewhere. Oh, well. We get a lot of different updates here with what's going on back in Iowa. It's like, meanwhile, while all this is going on with DIT, we get all these little updates. I'm so happy to see Chester and Laura have a new car. Because remember, they've been planning on traveling. And they were going to go to the Southwest, but it doesn't seem like any of that happened. They finally head to Chicago, they head to Indiana, and now that it's September, it's looking very unlikely that in 1950 they're going to take that trip that they were planning. But hey, everybody knows Chester at this point, if you listen to this podcast long enough. Once Chester has an idea in his head about certain things, he's probably going to get there. So we're just going to put a little pause on that whole story about him going to the Southwest. Then we get to kindergarten. So the cost of kindergarten at the time, I think, is really interesting. $9 a month. She's like, nope, we can catch things up here. You know what? Little Lewis is watching the UN, okay, on C-SPAN, essentially, or whatever the channel was before C-SPAN existed. So he's getting a good education in world affairs right now, and we're going to save that $9 a month. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and she said she's going to do some things with him, probably work on colors, and there's children's programming. Also, like I said before, when I imagine them like walking around this auction or doing these things, Lewis is with them.
Oh, yeah.
Soaking it all in.
Right.
So he's getting an education. It's just kindergarten. What are you going to do in kindergarten? Oh, and take a nap. Have some juice,
And Sunday school. He's going to Sunday school pretty regularly as well. So he's got that going. This is the generation of the big church Sunday schools. These Sunday schools are really, really large. He needs to just socialize with other people. Because otherwise they stay home all the time, other than going to the auctions and things. So it's good for him to be in a group at Sunday school and have that opportunity. But this letter does continue a little further here.
It's a little further, yes.
Jean, I'll bet you're working hard to keep the place cleaned up now that the initial digging out is done. Must seem strange to know that Merle and Lee won't be yelling back and forth anymore, but perhaps the soprano-voiced giggles will make up for the difference. Since time is running so short, I'll not go into your last letter now, but shall do so at some future date, and do it more thoroughly, and also answer the one from the Colonel. Mama and Papa, I'm anxious to hear how you like the car. I like the idea of the dark blue one, and hope you'll be very pleased with it. I'm extra pleased that you got it before winter time, and would love to hear that you're going to drive down to warmer climate for the winter. Hope you'll write about your trip to Indiana in detail. I'm pleased to hear about all the iris you're setting out. Don't believe I'll put out many more this year. I want to do some landscaping first. Clean off this hump that goes into the woods, and see about killing out some of the weeds that are creeping over onto our yard. I must close, as it is time for Lew to come to lunch, and then I must hurry to the bank and do a few errands, so shall stop and get these letters off right away. I shall write again in a day or two, and try to answer Jean's letter better. Lew is better, and I wonder if the night work didn't throw him sorta out of kilt, for he seems to be eating better and isn't having as much trouble as I'd written you about. More about that too in the next letter, but right now I'll say love to all of you, and you'll hear from me again in a day or two. Love, Sweetie. P.S. Here are the signed notes that I thought I'd mailed to you long ago. In a strictly legal sense, there should be no write-overs, but for some reason I wrote September instead of August. However, since it is signed, I can never remember to ask Lew to sign it. I'll send this one with the corrected date. I thought I'd be able to send you $300 to pay Papa, but can't do it just yet. I'm trying to save all I can and promise to do it as soon as I can possibly do it. Sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting because I didn't know that PS was there.
Yeah.
We found because of just the way that the notes were,
Yeah.
the letters were printed out in my book.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with that PS, we do know that Sweetie and Lew borrowed money from Chester and Laura and Jean as well. Right. I can see the kitty.
The dog has been defeated. Oh my gosh.
You guys
moving, right? And then thanks, Otis.
You guys. Okay, so before we were recording, I said, Allison, you got to move out of the way because there's a big sun ray on your face, and it's just so she moved out of the way, and then I was like, oh, put that little dog up. That's Lewis's dog.
Yeah,
and she put that up, and I was like, and there Otis just was like, no, this is supposed to be laying down.
Yeah, this is my turf. I will. Thanks, Otis.
Thank you, Otis. Look at him. He's the best. But so Sweetie and Lew borrowed money to put on their house. And we see here that they are paying it back. They are honoring that agreement, and they're paying them back. So that's nice. That's nice. I'm sure that feels really good for her to be able to
catch up off of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest of this letter is pretty basic. You know, she's talking about catching up with Jean. You know, Lew's about to go to lunch. Lew's back on the day shift. That's huge.
Thank goodness.
That she thinks that has to do with the health, and you know what, it really does. You know, you have to be. I've had, where I work, we've had a lot of overnight employees. People that do overnight shift, they're set on doing overnight shift. It's a hard shift to just go to and do for a little bit of time and come back from. And some people do this all the time. That was not Lew. That was not. Wow. Are you?
I'm sorry.
Yet?
Lew.
You
have to leave all that in.
Sorry, yeah, I'm leaving this in. All right. So anybody who's listening to the audio only version, if you want to see what my cat, what trouble he likes to get into, that's what's happening. That's what giggling is right now. Yeah.
If you're listening to the audio version, please go to YouTube and get a look at Otis. He is a doll. Okay, let's bring it back to what we were talking about. Yeah. That's actually, you know, there are people who are just enjoy working overnight.
Yeah.
There are people who that's their mindset. This is good. If you're not accustomed to it, yeah, I'm sure that really affected him. But he is getting better, and like the fact that he's like feeling better and eating more and you know, gaining weight and stuff. This is good because it was a little concerning that heart problem.
Oh yeah,
that was concerning.
I still don't know exactly what it was. That's the most thing, and then we don't know what medicine was being used because some of it was not named, and it was just
most of it was not named. Allie,
I don't know, but at least whatever it is seems to have abated. But that's it for the letters today. We do have a little bit of history to go over, just to catch people up about what's going on with the Korean War. So we're staying with our commitment to this not being the forgotten war, and we're moving as the timeline moves up. There's a lot of activity that's going on. I was actually looking at the Philadelphia Inquirer for the front pages for the news as it was proceeding forward, and oh my gosh, can I just tell you, every single day there's war news from the front. Every single day there's something going on. I mean, it looks like the same what you'd expect out of World War II. So the more I see this, that like every day this was front page news. It was war news happening here. And so the fact that it's so forgotten again, it just throws me off. But to catch up the timeline with what was going on, so North Korea, the forces of North Korea invade into South Korea on Eastern Standard Time, June 25th. And we'd covered that back in episode 81. I suppose you heard Brother Truman. If you missed episode 81 and you want the big entrance to the Korean War, go back and listen to episode 81. I'll put the link in the description here. Now, from that point on, it's only a few days later that President Truman, commits American troops as part of the UN allied forces to go and back up the forces of South Korea, the Republic of South Korea, which has only existed for a very short amount of time here. During World War II, all of Korea was a colony of Japan. So we have to bear in mind, and it was like 3, exactly, you said 3 years, that South Korea, Republic of South Korea, North Korea are split, exist at that 38th parallel. North Korea invades down, and we've been saying that the South Korean forces were basically pushed. They were pushed out of Seoul. So the capital city was taken by the North Korean forces, and they're on this point on the peninsula, and they're just hanging on there. And the UN allies, comprised mostly of American forces, and I think it was about 140,000 forces, are with them. And so what starts to happen in August of 1950, fast forward to August, that this has been going on, the North Koreans are essentially trying to drive those forces off the peninsula. They do that, that's it. It's game over. Because Seoul was already taken, and this is basically the last stand. You got to hang on there. The thing is, when America has access to a port, we have the strongest navy in the world. It's still the case today. So when we get our carrier there, as long as we're holding on to a good working port, we're just going to keep refilling. We're just going to keep refilling. This actually happens in the Civil War. This is what wears down Lee at Petersburg, because America has this amazing ability to just basically hang in on one location and just send nonstop supplies. So that's what starts to really happen here. And the North Koreans find themselves in like about a month-long assault on this position, unable to just break into ground. Now, this is September 6, 1950. So this is on the front page of the same day as the letter that we just read. Isn't that great? And what they get is an update on the map of the positions. And this is not an easy map to read, you know, because we're not used to seeing the maps here from North Korea and South Korea. But I would draw everybody's attention to the smaller map in the right-hand corner there to get your bearings for a second here. You see the 38th parallel, North Korea, South Korea. You see where Seoul is. It's really close to the dividing line. So the South Korean forces were pushed all the way out of Seoul to this area called Busan, which is now known as Busan, B-U-S-A-N. That's where this stand is being made. And then the larger map here is like a zoom in on that Busan area. And the lines that are coming in here marked A, B, and C, those are the North Korean forces sweeping down. They are surrounded. The port is there in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's where the stand is being made. So we're just holding this off for like a month. So they're trying to assault it. They take this one area. It actually says on the description here of this map picture that was in the Inquirer, the Red Korean forces at A crashed through the Allied defenses on the northern front, capturing the important port of Pohang, or Pohang. I'll have to check the pronunciation there. But the Yanks have re-entered Yongchon. So you can look for some of these locations in here. The Yanks have been forced to withdraw on the entire 40-mile northern front. So that's 40-mile stretch across there from the Tabu sector B and eastward through Xinjiang. The Americans have scored some successes in Area C here, Yongsan area, and hold firm in other sectors in the south and west. So that's 40 miles across the top to give us some idea of the distance. That's where it's failing. But there's this big hold that goes on, and the North Koreans are just unsuccessful in trying to overcome the UN American allied forces with the remaining forces of the Republic of South Korea. And that's where all the action is. So, I mean, this is probably what, Busan itself, if the whole top border is about 40 miles, we're talking about 5 miles. That's where all of it's going on. We're just going to keep refilling that. We're going to keep refilling that. To that end, there's a picture of from the government. And this is the kind of position. So you can see actually an image of this. This is the 27th Infantry Regiment. I believe these are soldiers from Oklahoma. They're in their position at Busan. This is exactly there. And you can look across the way. They seem to have what we would call the high ground.
Yes.
Yep. And that's going to be really important for all types of military warfare. But they're basically in these dugout positions. And they're looking down across the way where you can see the other smoke. That's where the North Korean forces would be. So this is what this is going to be like for about a month. But what's going to happen between the time period of this episode of the Love Sweetie podcast, September 6th, from the date of that article, and going into September 14th, is the counteroffensive is going to start. As of mid-September of 1950, at this point, the North Koreans are unable to push any further, and so the South Koreans and the UN allied forces with the American forces are going to push back and start the battle. I believe it's called Incheon, and we'll get into that as we move further into September. But when we end, the important thing to know with relation to the Love Sweetie podcast is after this point in this episode, the counteroffensive begins. So this is the last point where they're going to be driven back to this point in the war. The main thing they have to do is they need to take the capital back. They need to take Seoul back from the North Koreans. So that's going to be the focus at this point. So timeline-wise, when this episode's in, we're about to go into the counteroffensive days. But up to this point, they've been pushed back to where these guys are basically sniping at the North Korean forces. But just to give everybody an idea of that timeline, it is a very tough timeline to follow. But I think when put into easier terminology, it can be followed. They have to strike back. So we're going to see that strike back moving forward in future episodes.
Oh, goodness. So at this time, like, she's like sitting there, she wrote this letter, here it is,
Yep.
that's what's happening. And it's such a, when you look at the terrain too of South Korea, there's mountainous ranges, which I'm sure were like an impasse, like like that affected like the movements of troops and stuff, and what they were able to do.
Oh yeah.
So when you see, when you hear like, oh, now we're going to be moving in counteroffensive, then I'm thinking, oh, that requires warm bodies.
That's going to require a lot more effort. I mean, it's already a lot of effort. We got a lot of troops committed, but yeah, anytime you're going to go on the offensive into enemy territory or try to retake territory that's been taken by an enemy force, it's going to take a lot of guys to do that. So that's why she's worried about now Glenn and Frank, Joe Rusky, and Lew, right? Directly connected. So we'll see what happens with everybody who could potentially get called up to go overseas. But that's it for today's episode. You know, sort of a sobering moment at the end. But we have the wonderful thing to celebrate today. Hey, everybody, if you've been on the Love Sweetie podcast prior to this episode airing, you've noticed that for episode 83, for this episode, the episode title was masked. It was called Spoiler the whole time. I'm happy to announce that the title of episode 83, now that everybody's heard it, is Little Marguerite. So, and that's it for today.
Bye, everyone.